Hi, and welcome back to Fandom After 93. I'm Brett Naven.
Matt Skinner.
And before we get started, please subscribe, share, do whatever for this video. We're the best, and we want everyone to know. So help us out. No, I'm just kidding. But it would be great if you could do that for us. In the show, we're going to go over the good and bad things from the Ohio State game, and then we'll go over things we liked about or enjoyed in college football this week. I'm sure many of you can guess one game that we will talk about. And then after that, we'll do a short preview on the Marshall game and give you our predictions.
All right.
So I guess we'll start out with the Ohio State game. Notre Dame falls 21-10 at Ohio State. Do you want to start with the good or the bad?
Should we do a little recap first, just to kind of go through some of the?
Yeah, feel free to. You can do it if you want.
Yeah, I was just I think starting the day after the game, just trying to remember what happened when, just going through some of the drive charts. It just really comes to mind that defense, regardless of what some of them have been saying about some of the linebacker play late and some of the depth, you look at that first half drive chart. They played really tough, right?
Yeah, they were good.
They did a 4-and-out to start, and then Ohio State scored their touchdown, but then a 3-and-out, and then got them to have another punt shortly after Notre Dame's touchdown. And really, it was the offense that was trying to find itself. It had a good start, but then stalled almost immediately after getting near the red zone. Then we had our own. I kind of started worrying me a little bit.
Do you think
two straight
Styles should have scored on that play? Because I think he should have. I understand he's trying to set the safety up, but on that kind of play, just go, man. He lost. I know he got.
I don't know if he could have outrun him or not. I mean, the guy looked like he had plenty of yards on him and the angle. But who knows? Sometimes it's worth it to just
that's a play I feel like you got to make, man, if you want to win a game like that. You know what I mean? But it is what it is.
How many? It seems stereotypical too. How many times does Notre Dame have either a season drive or a season opening play that just gets your oh my god, this is
one that really comes to mind is USF. Yeah, I remember you sitting in the stands and looking at me and going, "Is this the year?"
Oh, this is gonna be a blowout.
The next play was the fumble that they returned right in front of us for 99 yards. Yeah.
I was 2 times that year. They had a fumble 6, and I was at both games because USC we were on the 3 and the same thing, and that was when we still had to beat them at home. I don't know, throw. but anyway, the first half we then followed up with 2 straight 3-and-outs, which got me a little nervous for reverting back to, but then a really decent drive that
I
thought Buckner, whatever, put together some pretty good throws. And also Reese had probably his best play calling of the game, mixing it up, throwing him off balance a little bit, a little inside, a little outside, down the seam.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one to Michael Mayer was a little behind him, but it also was fine because it still set us up in the red zone. And then also ending nice and conservatively, just give it to, I mean, he's not a true fullback, but kind of a fullback dive. That was fine with that. We got the ball back. I can't actually remember much of this 5-play drive.
The worst drive. That was a Brian Kelly drive to end the half.
No, but that wasn't the last one of the half. We had a 3-and-out.
No, I'm talking about the 30-second one at the end of the half. Sorry.
No. That was a 3-and-out. Yeah, there was one after. So we scored a touchdown, Ohio State punts. Sorry, Tasu. I'm gonna refer to them as Tasu the rest of the night because I still fucking hate them. I don't know how I haven't been a wreck this week. I must be growing up slowly. It's amazing, Brett, that I somehow been able to put 2 feet together.
Or it's just you're numb to these kind of things now.
But still, the most hated thing in the universe to me and my favorite team. I don't know. But anyway, Tasu punts after our touchdown. We get the ball back. We got it back at the 5, so we were kind of dug in pretty deep. Got a couple first downs, and then unfortunately, stalled out trying to get some balls to Michael Mayer again. Second half is where I really wanted to focus, like on the remembering our first couple drives, because I thought it wasn't until a little bit later that we really had these first couple plays really get us going, only to have something stupid happen. But it was the first drive
Hmm.
that he hits or he didn't hit Styles. It was a 3rd and 10, and that was the drive we got blessed with a couple personal fouls on
Hmm.
Tasu, right? One straight off the punt, and then another one later. We're at the 35, and we only went backwards. We had no positive plays that
Well, that
entire
was the
drive.
offensive pass interference, wasn't it?
No, no, that was
No,
later.
it was
And
later. Okay.
that's where, like, we just
Oh, that
killed
was, yeah, when we
ourselves.
tried 3 pass plays in a row and got nothing.
And
Yeah.
that's where I think you and I started texting each other, like, it's only a matter of time. If we don't get something going, they're going to wear us down eventually.
Yeah.
But they held the next drive. Ohio State had 31 yards, but they still punted. We got the ball back, and that was the one where we hit Michael Mayer for 17. He fumbled, but still recovered it. Still moving the ball, got to about midfield, and again, just trying to force it in there to, like, either a tight end dump or these kind of pointless run
Well,
plays.
that's something I was gonna go over on the good and bad area, and
Yeah.
I'll get into that.
No,
Like,
go. Yeah. And
I
and,
have
and then the,
I feel very strongly about this, and I'm gonna go on a long rant, so go ahead.
yeah. Well, and so after that, we've had two opportunities. It almost felt like imminent that Tossie was about to score. And of course, they went on a nice 10-play, 70-yard touchdown drive, takes the lead. But even still, didn't immediately cave. Came back, had a couple first downs, get to near midfield again. And this is where, when we get into the stats, maybe in a little bit, I think there's some hidden stats there that are, I think, some of the positives that I would want to go over. And overall, Tassi was more penalized than we were, but we
Oh, yeah.
did have a few critical ones. And
Yep.
I think their first touchdown drive was a ticky-tacky defensive pass interference that I thought, I'm
Yep.
like, all right, fine. That's how they're going to call it. That's how they're going to call it. And I honestly cheered when I saw the flag on this offensive drive in the second half after they took the lead, only for them to flag us. And I'm like, if
Right.
anything, it's just getting
But
mixed
a
up. I
lot of
didn't
that
see
has
much
to
of
do
a
a lot
yeah,
of that has to do with who the play was designed for. I don't agree with it. And that's gonna the flag part is gonna go into part of my rant too. Like,
yeah, and that really is a drive killer on offense. Well, yeah, it's 1st and 25 at least, and the same thing for their touchdown drive. We got defensive PI on 2nd down, not on 3rd down, so you can't blame the whole drive on it. And I don't want to
yeah,
blame the game on the refs at all, but these are the little things that can really break. We didn't have any turnovers, which
yeah.
is going to go in the good
But you got to
section,
score
but like
points to win a
those
big game,
penalties,
man.
yeah, those penalties were brutal. And so, we went backwards after being in their territory again, punt, and then we downed it, at the 5. And I'm like, all right, this is it. This is the defense needs one more big stop. And we get the ball back. And as soon as they started just converting 3rd down after 3rd down on that second touchdown drive, I was like, all right, they're going to score. And then
Yeah.
it doesn't
And
matter what
some
we do. And
really
then we
good
did the
plays
typical
by
three
CJ
and out.
Stroud. Like,
Yeah.
the, I some people are making a big stink about the talent gap. I don't I do buy into that a little bit. Like, yes, they are obviously more talented in key positions than we are. Like, there's no debating
Sure.
that. But that talent, in my opinion, really didn't show itself until those key 3rd down plays that CJ Stroud made on those rollouts and pinpoint passes right on the sideline to continue drives. Those were the plays where I'm like, damn, that guy's really fucking good.
Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
that's where I'm like, okay, the talent argument, I can understand you point to that, but the rest of the game, in my opinion, wasn't necessarily talent. It was, I
It was
don't
a
know
little
who
bit
to
of
blame.
offensive play calling. It was a
Well,
little
I
bit
don't.
of
So, all right, I guess I'll start my rant now.
yeah. Go ahead.
So Freeman had his press conference on Monday, talked about how the game plan was to run the ball, control the clock. They wanted to limit Ohio State's plays, which I totally get. That's fine. I understand the game plan. But you only run 48 plays all game.
No.
Um, that's fine. I understand you want to limit their plays, but you're beating your head against a wall when you're trying to run the ball with only 6 or 7 blockers, and Ohio State has 8 to 9 people within 6 yards of the line of scrimmage. I don't fucking care how good you think you are. You're going up against equal to maybe slightly better talent.
Right.
You're not going to be able to run the ball against that. It's just, and I know we say you got to run the ball on the road. Well, I'm of the opinion, and I will always be of this opinion. People say the run opens up the pass. Well, the opposite is the same in my opinion. If you can't throw the ball, then you can't run the fucking ball. That's just the way it is.
Right.
They were giving us one-on-one on the outside all night. All night. And I don't care. Like, okay, so what is Braden Lindsey and Lorenzo Styles known for? Speed. They're known as fast guys. Braden Lindsey is not a polished receiver. What have we seen him do over the years? It's deep balls or ends or rounds. He's fast, like just go. He's not the receiver of, he's not like that receiver where you're going to get him on slants and you're going to hit him across the middle, or in routes or digs. That's not Braden Lindsey. Braden Lindsey's a deep threat guy. That's what he is.
Yeah. He
And
was like the what's his name from 2012, the Oklahoma catch. He was a freshman. Chris,
Chris
you know what I'm
Brown,
talking about? Yeah. He's
yeah,
Chris Brown. Yeah.
yeah, that's what he is. And
Matt Shelton.
yeah, no, that's Salerno.
Yeah.
And when you only take one deep shot to the guy, and I sent you that video. I don't know if you ended up watching it, but they break. We watched this video, and it just shows the formations. Like Ohio State, a lot of the times, just we'd be on the right hash. We'd have our wide receiver on a single wide receiver on the left hash, or 2 wide receivers. They'd have a safety on the right hash, just a single high safety. And this is one thing that really bothers me with football mindsets in any sport when it's at a high level. People think they need to be smarter or fancier than they really need to be. Like it doesn't have to be some crazy design play. Like
Right.
if you see it, just fucking do it.
Right.
And okay, so we hit a few deep balls. How many did we throw in the game? Maybe 4 or 5. But one to Styles was open. The problem with it was the play design. When Ohio State's got 8 men in the box, you're gonna try to, do like a 5-step drop with a play action. Like you don't have time to do that when they're that close to the line. Literally all you had to do was a 3-step drop and just throw it up. That's all we had to do. And you know what happens? Like you said, there's 3 things that can happen. All right. One, it's an incomplete, okay, maybe 4. Incomplete pass, or an interception, or we get a big play, or we get a pass interference call. And
Yeah.
then if they're getting pass interference, guess what Ohio State's going to do? They're going to be like, well, we got to put someone over there for
Safety
a
over
safety
top. Yeah.
help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what's that do? That opens up lanes in the run game.
Right.
Um,
Or even the tight end scene.
right. And I get
No.
you want to slow the game down, limit their possessions, but you can't beat your head against the wall. You just can't, and that's what we were doing. Like, and I understand that game plan in the first half when it's 10-7, but when you have them 10-7, your team is showing you that they can hang. And our defense was playing good enough, in my opinion, where we didn't need to limit their possessions.
Yeah.
Like, go out there and score some fucking points because
Yeah.
that's what we needed, and we didn't
Yeah.
take the shots. And one thing on the run game too, and I said this to you the night of the game. uh, If they are going to have 8 or 9 men in the box, you can't have pulling guards in these
Yeah.
slow developing run plays because all
Just
you're doing is
hammer it right
allowing them get
down.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're letting them get in the backfield. I understand the game plan, and I'm not blaming Tommy Reese for everything. I just think,
No.
and if I'm Tommy Reese and Marcus Freeman is telling me, hey, I want to run the ball, he's got to have the nuts to tell Freeman, like, look, okay, well, let's take a shot on first down, then we'll run on second down, give ourselves, second or third and 7 or something. But you run on first down, you get 1 yard. You run on second down, you get nothing or 2 yards. So you're ending up in the same fucking position running on first and second down that you would have been if you would have thrown on first down. Or you can run on first down and throw on second down.
Yeah.
It just it was very frustrating because we had him on the ropes, man. We had him on the ropes, and we just didn't go for the dagger.
Well, I was actually gonna agree with you with a couple key drives. That first drive, you opened it up, surprised them a little bit. The first play of the season, got a
Mhm.
nice little out pass route. The next two plays, run for 3, run for loss of 2, and then it doesn't matter. It's third and long, and it says he ran for 1. I think he was flushed out, if I remember right. So then they're all right, fine. There's your field goal. The drive after the touchdown that Notre Dame scored, um, they get a little confidence and they start at their 5, so maybe they're expecting a little something different. Diggs for 4, Buckner for 12, right? So you got first
Yep.
down, but then again, run, no gain. And now it's third down, and then you get a 50-50. They try to find your best receiver, who's your tight end,
But
which
why
will come
wait till
back to
third
you.
down on to do that?
Right. And
That's
and
my
and
problem.
then some of
And
them,
and on 3rd and 10, real quick, on 3rd and 10,
yeah.
guess what the defense is expecting? They're expecting you to pass. So they're not
Yeah.
gonna have all those people in the box. Like, that's what
Well, and they're
bothers me
going to
so
double cover your best guys, right?
yeah.
And so he may not be open, and Book isn't, quite mature enough yet to. I mean, he's not bad, and he can find other guys, but he's gonna get even better at that because the second drive of the second half, right? Again, same thing. Run for 1, run for 3, and now it's third and long, and then he hits Michael Mayer. That was the one where he caught it, fumbled it, and recovered
Yeah.
it himself. And so, yeah, you're going to get a few of those third downs, but then they went right back to it. And they, second and long, Tyree run for 3, and then it's third and 8. Tried to
Yeah.
find Michael Mayer, incomplete. After the touchdown, after Tasu takes the lead,
And
you
and
know,
so I
with
understand they wanted
first
to protect
play,
him. They
yeah,
wanted to protect Buckner. But after that first half and you saw the way he played, like, just take the training wheels off, man. Let him make checks at the
you,
line. Like,
you got
you
to
see
win
that
big
guy up
games. You got to
top,
take
do
big
it.
risks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and again, after they took the lead, and we started deep in our own end at the 13, first play, pass to Braden Lindsay, 32 yards.
Mhm.
But then the very next play, I'm sorry, then that opened up the very next play at the start of the fourth quarter. Tyree runs for 14 yards because maybe they backed
Because
up
you
a little
just did a
bit.
big play. You just did a
Play
big
after
play over the
that,
top.
offensive PI, which you're gonna have bad luck drives like that, and then it stalls because it's first and 25, and they tried to run it twice, and then it's third and 18. Like, good luck. And then that was the game. So I've gone through, yeah, most of those drives have some sort of the pattern that you're talking about. And yeah, it's frustrating because you don't want to look bad because we would be talking like, oh, why did Notre Dame take all these unnecessary risks? But
Mhm.
we're going to question it no matter what as armchair quarterbacks. But I think you'd rather take a big risk in a big game makes sense, especially
In the
as a new
second half,
coach.
100%. In the second
Yeah.
half, I'm all for it.
And because it did work. I mean, you
Mhm.
knocked them off of their confidence. You held Ohio State to 7 points in the first half, which hadn't happened in whatever the stat was saying, right? They're like, man, we're at home. I know they're a good team, but like, where's our point? Like, you're shaking them
Mhm.
a little bit, and then they're going to adjust at halftime. And I'm not saying we didn't adjust, but man, it would have been nice to come out firing in the second half, especially because they punted after what they went 3 and out to start the second half.
Yeah.
Like, what if we had come right down with some deep throws, and then all of a sudden you get a little draw play,
Well, we
quarterback
did
dive or something?
throw on that first series after half. We did, but the play calls weren't good. Like, they were dumb passes in my opinion.
Yeah,
They weren't where the ball in my opinion, what the defense was giving you. And they were a lot of the stuff we tried to do was pretty simple, like roll out short dumps to the outside. Um, try
Yeah,
stuff
you are
over the
right.
middle.
That
Like
first drive of the second half, which we had in great field position at the 44, incomplete to Styles, incomplete to Jaden Thomas, but then we got bailed out by the personal foul, right?
yep.
But then once we had it at the 35, run for loss of one, run for no gain, 3rd and 11,
Yeah.
pass incomplete to Braden Lindsay. So it's almost like, again, you're going to get some gifts, turnovers or penalties from them. You're going to have some pass interference on us. That's going to be part of the game. And when they present you that opportunity, especially this team at their place, you got to take advantage. And instead, we went back to what we thought was the tried and true. And I think you're right. Like, keep the pedal down, take a
Well,
risk.
that's the most frustrating part of this game, in my opinion, is going in. Like, if you would have told me we'd lose 21-10 and we were competitive, I would have been like, okay. But I, my mind, I wouldn't have thought that we would have been the better team for the majority of 3 quarters in that game. I thought it would have been, Ohio State's up 14-3. We score, make it 14-10. Ohio State makes it 21-10, something like that.
Yeah.
But when you're up 10-7 for almost a quarter and a half, you
Got to do something
what
with it.
yeah, what's going to put
Yeah.
more pressure on Ohio State? Us chewing the clock and limiting their possessions, or us going down and scoring a touchdown and getting a 10-point lead when their offense is faltering, or even
You're
a
not going to
field
beat
goal?
them 10-7 at their place. They're
Exactly.
just not that type of team that you can pen up at home.
And that's where
Like,
I hope
yeah,
Marcus grows and understands where the game's at.
yeah.
Because that's, as a coach, you can have a game plan coming in, but you have to look at how things are going and understand that you have a
And
team on
maybe,
the ropes. Your defense is playing good enough. You can win this game.
yeah. And maybe, like, again, we're gonna nitpick, as all fans are gonna do. Maybe there is something that they're seeing from the press box that we're not seeing on the TV, that they just weren't giving you that. But you're right. Like, even if they weren't, I think you and I have slightly different, like, ways of marking the box. But, like, even if it was 7, like, it seemed like something had to be open, right?
Well,
Like
here's the
some
thing, like,
post routes or some 20 and
technically the
outs
box is like 4 yards to the line of scrimmage, but when you have two safeties that are 7
that are,
yards from the line of
yeah,
scrimmage,
it's
they're
pretty
not playing
close.
normal safety depth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Well,
they're
and,
just
and
daring
something
you to run the football.
I know I've always been a fan of, like, throwing in some trick plays since my childhood, but, like, a flea flicker is, if you can do it quickly, is a really good way, if you call it at the right time, for
Yeah.
safeties creeping up, right? I mean, hell, their touchdown caught us on a safety blitz, which was
Yeah.
that was the low point of the game for the defense, was that
Yeah, we'll
unnecessary
get to
safety
that in a second. I
blitz.
want to finish up on
Yeah.
the offense though.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just
Go
gonna
for
say,
it.
like, we with as a quarterback, and I understand Buckner's young, whatever, but we could have thrown a sophomore in high school out there with the one-on-one coverage on the outside and just be like, throw it. Like, any quarterback, and I'm not saying they would have thrown it great or whatever, but quarterbacks young, like, that's the throw that's, I don't want to say it's easiest, but it's not you know, a 10-yard in. It's not a
Yeah.
8-yard dig. It's just lay the ball out there and let your receiver go get it. That's one of the easier throws a quarterback has to make.
Yeah.
And I just I don't understand in a game like that.
Yeah.
I understand you work on certain things in games, you got game plans. It's just I felt like we had such a great opportunity to make a statement win, and I feel bad for the kids. I thought the offensive line was kind of shit, but um
And
feel
that's
bad.
we're gonna have to learn more about that. Like, how much of that is
Right.
Tasu's
Well,
defensive
Patterson was
line?
out too. That didn't help.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I feel bad if you're on that offense. I feel bad for him. Like,
Yeah.
I felt like they were handcuffed and they weren't put in, like, they had training wheels on. That's what it felt like. We
Yeah.
were dealing with a minor offense and we're not letting them mature. And I
Yeah.
get it, but second half you got to
We
do something different.
And you and I talked too about the advantage of playing this game for not only your first of the season, but your
Mhm.
first of the coaching career. The other advantage, and it was a little bit evident in that first half, is you can surprise the opponent and their fans, right?
Yeah.
And I think they did. They knocked them to the mat in that
I
first
think
half.
Joseph's hit on Smith and Jigba set the tone for the first
Yeah,
half.
but I think that's where the other advantage of when you're sort of you can almost surprise yourself
Mhm.
because you don't necessarily have maybe the utter confidence of a number one Alabama returning champion, but you also don't have like the oh, this is not going to work. It didn't work in this. Like you're winning the game. That's the time where you
Yeah.
take the risk because the players might surprise themselves. You know what I mean?
I'm
Like,
100% with you.
yeah. So I
And
don't know.
that's the
I'm
disappointing
glad we
part of the
have
game.
Marshall coming back
Yeah.
because it'll allow us to really feast on hopefully a team where we can get that sort of confidence
Yeah.
going.
The defense. I just want to
Yeah.
say the secondary, that is the best I've seen the secondary play. Whew. Man,
2012, not even then because that
better
was
than
mostly the front
2012, dude.
seven.
It was better than
20
2012.
2002, Shane Walton, Valdez
Yeah,
stuff.
probably 20 years. That is the best I've seen the secondary play. They played lights out, man. I know Cam Hart. I don't mind the play by Cam Hart, honestly. Like, I know he tried to undercut come inside, cut the ball. In my opinion, that was just a really good throw by Stroud, and
On which
Cam
one?
Hart on the first touchdown, um, to the outside when Joseph came underneath and Cam Hart.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I just thought that was a really good throw by Stroud. Like, I don't mind a play like that where he's trying to make a play and, it backfired a little bit. But other than that, like, the safety blitz, like, I know everyone's going to point at that, and it was a
That's not the
terrible
players.
call.
It's a bad call. Yeah,
Well,
that's fine.
it was a little bit on the players. The safeties weren't close enough up to blitz. They were way too far back. The thing with the safety blitz is it's better to be early than to be late
Yep.
on a safety
Yep.
blitz. So,
Yeah, I hate that when you see like a
yeah,
stall and then they come and I'm like, unless
yeah,
he's a dumb court, unless he's Cone back there or not, yeah, Cone back there who's gonna take an hour to throw it. Like you're literally coming from right in front of him
yeah. I mean,
late.
Stroud was throwing the ball by the time they got to the line of scrimmage. So
Well,
it's like,
and he was smart enough to throw it right in the place that they just came from. They
yeah,
might have scored
and
anyway that drive. That's fine, but like
yeah.
that play was
Well, it was a third
oh,
and 11, and that's the thing. Like,
I don't think that was third down when they scored
yeah, it
that
was. It was
that
third and
touchdown.
11, and they scored on it. Third and
Oh
11, they scored
shit,
on
it
it.
was.
That's why I was like, it was
Oh, then why?
terrible.
Yeah, like I don't even mind playing the whole give them 7 and just shut down at the first down line on that. Give them the
Because
field goal.
what does that blitz
You
do
know,
for you necessarily? You get a sack, they're still
knock
in
him out.
field goal range.
Well, maybe
Like,
not. They're at the 24. Maybe you get the. Yeah, I don't. That's what I'm saying. I agree. I think give them the 5 6 yards, the little dump to the tight end,
yeah,
and then they have to kick the field goal.
yep.
Then it's at
I'm
least
I'm with you.
tied.
Yep.
Oh, I
Um,
didn't realize that was third down.
yeah, I thought the defense played great. I thought like you said, the linebackers, they need to do a little better at getting off blocks.
Yeah,
Um, but Ohio State has a mammoth offensive line. We're not going to see an offensive line like that the rest of the year.
maybe
Those are some
Clemson.
big ass dudes they got on that. I don't know if you saw like number 65 Jones on that team. That might be the biggest human I've ever seen. Like, dude was massive.
Right.
Um, the defensive
Only
line.
one.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, only one. Oh, I was just gonna say only one sack, but
Yeah,
they had a couple times where they hit him. They had a couple times where they hurried him.
I
So
thought it was underwhelming. I expected for going into the game, I thought our strengths were going to be the lines of scrimmage, the offensive line and the defensive line. I know Patterson was out on the offensive line, but we got our shit kicked in on both pretty much. Like, Ohio State's offensive line was better than our defensive line for the majority of the night, and their defensive line was way better than our offensive line. But like I said, I think a lot of that has to do with the play calling and
yeah,
just letting them, you know,
adapting
you're
to
one
what you
person, you
see.
can't block two people. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
just the way it is.
Well, if you get the angle right and you can just kind of lay out, but then you can only do it for about a
Yeah,
half second. But that's
there
where
you go.
a good lineman who knows that hey, I'm just gonna give him an opportunity, and a running back who knows his line really well. that's the difference between that 4-star and that 5-star back.
Yeah.
I think Tyrese gonna be fine. I think he's a really good back. But that's what I saw sometimes in Williams is he could see like, hey, this is a small window. And
Hmm.
I don't know how well he knew his line, but there was a couple of backs in the last 10 years that they just got it. You know what I mean?
I
And
thought Estime was awesome. For like, there were so many
yeah,
times where I thought he got hit in the backfield like for a 2 yard loss. Motherfucker would just shred people off and get a 2 or 3 yard gain like that. That boy's good. He's gonna be good.
well, Tyree has had a 4.7 yard average. So
Yeah.
I think
No,
the
no.
bright spot on
Tyree's the
the
game
running.
breaker. There's no doubt
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
but the D line needs to be better. Like they got to be better. But
well, again,
there's
let's
only
have some different teams to see how they stack up first
yeah, but
because it is
I'm
one of the best O lines.
right. But
They
I'm a
did hit him. They did rush him a couple times, and they didn't really blitz from like the
mm.
linebackers. It seemed as much.
But when you got a first round pick on the D line, and he was going up against a first round pick to left tackle for Ohio State's going to be
Yeah.
a first round pick.
Yeah.
Um, you still expect more. Like
Yeah.
Foskey just did. He wasn't the Foskey that I thought we were going to see. I thought we were going to see a guy that was in the backfield, not all game, but a lot of the time. You know,
Yeah.
and um, I don't think he played terrible, but I don't think he played good. That's,
Sure.
and I would say that kind of sums up the defensive line in general. Like, do I think they played terrible? No, but I expected more. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Special teams.
Oh, can I take this one?
Uh, I'll just give my brief view and then you can.
Yeah.
The punter started off pretty shitty, but man, once he got it going, he was hitting some bombs. Man, that kid's got a
Yeah, I didn't
leg.
know if the Ohio State guy was just not giving him enough space or if he was just like that last one, I think was like 80 yards or something.
Yeah, fucking bombs. And then the kicker, the transfer in, they're both transferred. The punter was from Harvard. The kicker's from Arkansas State or something. I don't know. Kicker, when he came on, I was like, damn, it's a new kicker, man. He fucking stroked that thing right down the gut. Great kick. I know it was only like 37 yards or something, but
Right.
solid kick, had plenty of leg on it. That would have been good from probably 50 plus.
Yeah.
The kick returns and punt returns, though, man. They need improvement. Here you go.
No, it's one thing on a couple of those fourth downs near midfield where I was honestly surprised that Day didn't go for it. Fine. Punt safe all day. That's fine. Take the
Which ended up
ball.
being really smart by him. Great
Yeah,
coaching, I thought.
it's fine. That's fine. It's just I don't understand how you can have guys on the gunners on some of these other punts. Because I mean, how many punts did Ohio State have? Right, I can count through here. This is
Probably
six,
six or
seven.
seven. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had nothing of a return game at all. And then on the kickoff returns, twice that I can remember. I don't think it was a third time. Like, dude, just fair catch it. What are you doing? Like one of them after their touchdown, we get to the 13. And again, that's not just on the returner having a bad decision or hesitating, but like if they hit you at the 13, your guys miss some blocks.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I was really hoping like it wasn't gonna be Brian Polian's special teams anymore.
Well, it
Something would
wasn't as
change.
bad as Brian Polian. We'll get to that.
Yeah, but like that was an atrocious special teams. And
Yeah.
in a game
Not good.
when every little bit was going to count, when you needed maybe a firing up after their score and you get to the 13, that ain't going to do it. You know what
Well,
I
think
mean?
back to the big
Or
games we've had,
in the past.
recently-ish. I mean, Wisconsin kick return for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Um,
It was a close game.
yeah, I'm trying to think of ones, the Zibby punt return against USC. Like those
No, there's
moments in
yeah.
games can
Golden
change
Tate.
so
Yeah.
much. Yeah, man, Golden Tate. I know this is a sidebar, but he is one of my favorite players ever at Notre Dame. I love that
Yeah.
guy. Sorry. Um,
No, yeah.
those are the things that stem the tide, of a game. And I don't know. Freeman talked about it in his press conference. He said, and he said the same thing that you're saying. Like they just got to be better, and he wanted them to return, which is nice to see. Like he wanted them to return the
Confidence.
ball, unlike Kelly, just taking fair catches. But
Sure.
It's got to
but
be
then
better
do
than
something.
that. And he said the
Yeah.
same thing. Like he's like, we got to work on that. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's unfortunate because this, you really can't look at this and say like, oh man, 6 times out of 10 we win this game or anything like that. And I'm not saying that if we had taken a little bit offensive play calling differently, the way that we just talked about for a while,
Mhm.
that we maybe don't have a better chance. But what I'm saying is there wasn't any for either team. There really wasn't any sort of lightning return, turnover. There was a couple sacks, but nothing like a monstrous, like game-changing sack,
Well, I think the
right?
biggest plays of
They
the
wore
game
us
were
down
Stroud's
and they beat
rollouts
us.
and
Yeah.
hitting on those third downs. Like those were
Yeah.
in the safety blitz. Those were the biggest plays in the
Yeah.
game.
And so you can look at that game 100 times and just be like, yeah, this team wore down the other team and they were the better team
Yeah,
and they won the game.
they did.
And that just makes me vomit inside. But like, it's true. And because I can't find the stat breakdown by half, right? But there's still some little gems in there. They both missed about the same amount percentage wise of passes. They took 34, we took 18. But yards per pass is just telling the story of what you said again. 9.8 yards per catch for Notre Dame, 6.6 for Tasu. Like that's maybe it goes down a little bit if we take a few more shots, but like there's opportunity there, right?
Mhm.
And the rushing, if you mix it in with your best back Tyree, who clearly can get 4 or 5 yard average going, but you mix it in at the right time,
Yeah.
that's definitely apparent. And we
Like
already talked
I
about
know
this.
Freeman said, balance and they were even on play calls, but that's in my opinion, that's just not you can't point at that and be like, "Oh, look, it was when the plays were called and what we were calling on certain downs that bothered
Yeah,
me." And,
yeah,
I don't know, like, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but
no, but yeah,
this is a young coaching staff with a young team. This is they have to learn from this, and I hope Freeman goes back and watches it and he's like, "Hey, man, I don't want to say he let the team down, but he didn't let the team do their thing in the second half necessarily. Like, you know, y-
they
you
weren't
can't
going
just
to
you can't
do.
play to lose. You can't play not to lose. You have to play to win,
Yeah,
and that's what it
we
felt like.
weren't going to go in with a first game head coach into the horseshoe against number two, against an unarguably better team, and
Mhm.
wear them down at the end and wear out a victory. It was going to take
Yeah.
something special. And yeah, like you said, we don't want to beat a dead horse, but to do something special, you almost needed something, either a miraculous sort of
You got to take risks.
turnover, or you throw a few pop flies out there and let you guys go and get it. And either
Yeah.
you have the better receivers or maybe you don't.
And even if you don't want to throw those deep balls, you know what else would have worked? Some bubble screens. Just because they didn't have
I
the
think they
numbers on the
threw
outside.
one,
One, it
yeah,
was
and it
to Mayor
didn't, yeah.
on the goal line, and he almost got in. That's when Estime went in on the
It
next
got us a
play.
first down though. Yeah, that
Yeah,
wasn't I guess it was a bubble screen, but it's not like the ones I'm thinking of because it was so close. But yeah, I know what
right.
you're saying.
But I
The
mean,
the
there's stuff
last
like that.
the last thing I was going to look at on the stat sheet, I guess we'll just go bad to good here. Third down efficiency again
Awful.
was probably more even until late in the game. Their last two touchdowns had a couple clutch third downs.
Mhm.
We're 3 of 13. They're 7 of 13. Right. I mean,
And
that's the game right
the
there.
difference with our third down was though, like I can't tell you how many times we were in third and long. I feel like every third down we had
It
was
was
third
six
and
or
seven or
more
more.
most of the time. Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah,
that's going to
that's
be
what
a
it
low
was.
probability. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this is both good and bad. Again, they bailed us out with at least two specific personal fouls I can remember. I don't know how they got 7 for 75. But then we also had, you can call them ticky tacky, but it cost us a promising answering drive, the offensive PI, and then their first touchdown. Who knows what happens on that third down, but we bailed them out on a real touchy. That was what I was really mad about. That ball was uncatchable on the defensive PI in the first half,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
what really got me. But then
But
we've already
still,
said
like
this.
he didn't need to do that. That's where I'm at on it.
No,
Like
yeah, he didn't have to grab his
he
hand,
didn't
and
have to do that.
it's not even that it's a bad call. It's just I wish they would have said, made the symbol of uncatchable. At least everyone would have understood. But then if you're gonna call that, I don't know how you call the offensive one later. And then
Yeah,
to close it out for good, and I guess again bad,
I
but
I,
no
I do want to
turnovers
point
on
out
either
some good
team.
players after that. Yeah, yeah. That
Yeah, yeah, no. I was just looking through the end of the stats sheet. Is no turnovers for
yeah.
either team.
It was a relatively clean game. It was a good college football game. Is what it was.
Yeah,
But
it was old school. I
yeah,
I I
and I
remember
enjoyed
Sarah
watching
turns
it.
to me. She's like, "This is kind of boring." I'm like,
No, this
"This
is
is
great.
like somebody who goes into a soccer game and doesn't understand like the
The
thrill of a
tactics.
1-0 game and
Yeah.
the tactics and the play. This is a defensive game, and it was conservative. I'll give you that, but I don't think it was
Yeah.
boring. You
No,
know.
not at all.
So
I do
go
want to
ahead.
say who was good. I'll say who I thought was good for Notre Dame, and then I'll go to bad. Good Benjamin Morrison, the freshman corner. That kid's going to be a stud, man. Being a
Yeah.
true freshman, and like later on in the game, man, they didn't take him off the field. He was like turning into their number one corner, and to be a true freshman in that environment, step up and play like that, that's insane. Like that
Yeah.
kid's going to be a stud. Um, Second, I would say I thought uh, I'm going to go with I thought Brandon Joseph played pretty well too. Safety.
Yep.
Um, he hit. He was physical. He was setting a tone. He was all over the place. Really happy with him. And then my third good one, um, I'm going to say it. I thought Buckner played well. I did. I thought
Yeah.
I thought of what they asked of him and the training wheels that they kind of put on him and like they had him in shackles, kind of like that's what was frustrating. Just let the kid play.
Yeah.
Bad. Oh, sorry. I wanted to get one more. I know it's another secondary person, but Tariq Bracy for how shit that kid's been at Notre Dame for years. He looked like a totally different man on Saturday night. Played great.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Bad. I don't know if you'd say it's necessarily bad. I'm gonna say bad. Zeke Correll, awful. Just didn't for what I expected from a guy who's had numerous starts over the years, been in the system a long time. He was terrible. Um, Another bad. Uh, I thought was I guess I'll say Foskey. It's not necessarily bad. He just didn't live up to expectations of what I thought. Um, and then bad for one half was Cam Hart. He got it together, but that's the thing too. In a game like that, when you have Cam Hart and Foskey on that list, those are two of your best players. And I know how good the defense played, but those type of games, those guys got to be the best players, and they
Yeah.
weren't. And
Yeah.
that's the disappointing part.
I will start with the bad, and just because we were at a noisy bar, and I'm always playing catch up on learning some of the names that I need to know. I'll keep it more
Mhm.
generic. Is two key takeaways is the pass rush
Yep.
and the offensive line. Both need improvement against elite teams. We'll see how they stack up in general. I think hopefully they'll be able to overmatch a lot of
I
their
think Clemson's going to be the
opponents.
next test for
Exactly.
that unit, and they
Yeah.
got 7 or 8 games before that. So
Right. So hopefully we can get some in. But yeah. So basically both lines of scrimmage and the good. Um, I know they couldn't find him enough, but that was just again the nature of the play calling. Michael Mayer, I think he answered when called upon.
mm,
Um, I'm just gonna give a shout out. I don't, was it Salerno or Bauman who caught that tipped ball to themselves?
Salerno.
Yeah, awesome catch. I
Yep.
mean, he also played well otherwise, but again, too few targets. But that was a great catch. And then Tyree, I mean, for a rushing game that was pretty anemic, he did exactly what you need
And
a elite running back to do.
with Tyree
So
too, they don't have to hand the ball off to him. Like it can be other ways to get him the ball. Put him in the
yeah, just
spot, have him run a quick out, a quick slant.
yeah, just
That's
like
another
last
gripe
year
of
with
mine.
just like last year with the running backs, right?
Yeah.
You motion him out wide, and he's almost as great of a threat there. So
Yep. So there's plenty of ways to get
yes,
him the ball. I'm with you on that.
that's my three for the good.
All right. Well, I guess that'll wrap up the review.
Fuck Ohio
We'll
State.
go into what we enjoyed in college football this week. I
Oh, things
certainly,
happened.
certainly enjoyed that game on Sunday night. What
I
a
wish you had
shit
texted
show.
me earlier. I ended up going back and watching some of it, but I wish you had texted me earlier to watch the ending. Oh my goodness.
Super entertaining. God awful football is what that was.
It looked
Great.
terrible.
It
It
was
just looked
awful.
terrible.
Yeah. It go ahead, with the Brian Polian because the funny thing is, we talk about that last week, and then I see all over Facebook like the only coach to leave to go to LSU with Notre Dame is their special teams coach, and it's like, yeah, the guy sucks,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I'm not going because I'm not nearly as bitter as and because I don't want to be the way that my Cincinnati friends were for years after Brian Kelly left
Right.
Cincinnati for Notre Dame. I'm not going to use the Schadenfreude against him. Whatever. I don't really care. I'll root for LSU against Alabama, probably a couple other
No,
teams down there, but I
no.
hate most of the SEC anyway. But I will enjoy Schadenfreude every time Brian Polian's special teams just chokes because that man has been. I mean, you know how often I've texted you specific. I'm the only person in the country who rants against the special teams coordinator as hard as I do. And
Yeah.
that guy, what was it? A blocked field goal, my brother in law said, and then a
Yeah.
blocked extra point for the win, but also two. I almost felt bad for that kid because you can't even
Oh, I
blame
felt
the coach.
terrible for that kid, man. I felt awful
But
for him.
then they muff the one that should end the game, and the announcers
Yeah.
are even saying, they should probably let him score. And then they pitch the
Dude,
ball.
why the
It's like
fuck do you
nobody wanted to
pitch
win
the
the
ball?
game.
Like, God, man.
Come
Those
on, you're not
were
Navy.
I understand it's getting all the pub because they're two big names, but those are two really bad football teams. If you watch this game,
Yeah.
those teams
I
are bad
who
right now.
who did it was one of the ESPN guys on Sports Center the next day is like they paid $10 million for that. Like I
Yeah,
couldn't stop laughing because like I never understood it, and they just freed up. We'll find out for sure with Friedman, but I think we were also ready to part ways. We needed to get some refreshment in there and
yeah.
a change of direction, and he helped us out by doing that himself. Because as long as he was doing the seasons he wasn't going to get fired. At 10-win seasons.
That's I want to send LSU a gift basket. Like, thank you, because, like you said, he wasn't. We were gonna be if Brian Kelly is coaching that Notre Dame team at Ohio State on Saturday, they lose by 30 points. That's just what I think. I think they
Yeah,
lose by 30 points. Um, it probably would have been 14-0 OSU. And you can say, well, the team should have mental fortitude. Like, no, if you're down 14-0 on the road, right off the
at
bat, you're
night.
gonna, yeah, you
Yeah,
crumble a little bit. But man, that game summed up Brian Kelly in big games as a Notre Dame fan. The rest of the world got to watch it, but with him having a different uniform on. You know what I mean? Like having a different shirt on. It was like, yep, I've seen this before where we're just
oh yeah.
defeating ourselves. It felt like way more egregious, but the Cincinnati game last year where we were just turning the ball over, and was Cincinnati good?
And then they were
Sure.
missing field goals. Like
Yeah.
again, teams just trying to give each other a shot. Yeah.
Yeah. And
No,
it was just
it
that's what
was
it
a
felt like.
larger version of Willingham at Washington.
Oh,
Remember,
yeah.
everyone was like,
Oh,
"Man,
God. Yeah.
didn't give him a
Notre Dame's
chance." Blah blah
racist. They shouldn't have
blah.
fired him. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm like, the guy's just not. He's not doing the all around coaching job. He's not getting the recruits that he needs. I mean, Brady Quinn's class aside, that was decent. He wasn't getting the recruiting in. He wasn't doing the
Brady
necessary.
Quinn fell in his lap, dude. Brady Quinn was a Notre Dame fan that wanted to go to Notre Dame.
No, sure. I was just saying, like, he wasn't completely inept on one of the classes, but like, yeah, I mean, they had Justin Tuck too.
Yeah.
Although I don't know if that was right at the end. That actually might have been Bob Davie. I stand corrected. But yeah, no, like, and then he goes to Washington, and remember, he was at Washington when Charlie Weiss was starting, and
Hmm.
we were going to go 0-6 or 1-5, and Washington was ranked. They ended up terrible, but like we go
Yeah.
out there and just
I want to say he only
it
won like 5 games at Washington or something. He was there
wasn't
for 2
good.
years. Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah. So, but yeah, pretty entertaining. I didn't watch the game Monday because I didn't have power.
Clemson looked.
Um,
They
I
looked.
mean, it's Georgia.
I mean,
I
the
had it.
score is way more flattering than how the game went, is the way I'd put it.
Yeah, it looks like it was
The one
14-10.
game I do want to point out this weekend
Yeah.
was North Carolina Appalachian State. North
Yeah, I saw
Carolina
that.
gave up
It was
40 points in the fourth quarter and still won the game. It's
I
insane, dude.
I was watching the highlights of that on Sports Center later, and I because I had already seen that they had missed a 2-point conversion, right, to
Mhm.
potentially tie it. Appalachian State did. But I'm like, wait a second. How did they went for two with 30 seconds left and missed it. How did this become a touchdown tying game again? Like North Carolina scored apparently on the onside kick.
No,
Is
they
that what
got the
happened?
onside kick,
It says
and then
kickoff return, 43 yards for touchdown.
oh, maybe he did. I thought I saw something different. I'm sorry, but yeah,
Where
maybe
it's
that was
like
what
if
it
they
was.
end up losing that game, I know everyone wants to score, but this is one of those, when everyone lets you score, you're supposed to go
Mhm.
down, not score.
Yeah,
Like, don't do this.
yeah. I
Oh,
yeah,
crazy.
that was crazy. I'm trying to think any other good games this weekend. Penn State Purdue on Thursday night was a pretty good game. Penn State squeaked that one out.
Let's see the rest of Notre Dame's schedule, maybe who all won here.
USC looked good against Rice, but it's Rice,
It's
so
Rice.
yeah,
uh, Cal Cal won. They played UC Davis. Okay,
yeah.
so
No one
FCS
on our
school.
schedule really played anyone worth a shit besides North Carolina, and that was Appalachian State. Appalachian State's a decent team, but you know, I wouldn't
Yeah.
say, you'd expect North Carolina to win that game way more handily than they did. So
How did BYU look? They beat South Florida pretty good, but
yeah,
we'll learn more
they
about
beat South
BYU
Florida.
this weekend. They got Baylor, number
Yeah,
9.
that'll
That'll
be
be
a
a good
good
game.
game. Good game.
Yeah, I'll root for
There's
the
really
Mormons this
no
weekend.
this
Yeah.
weekend. There's really no like great games this weekend in college football. Kind of one of those weekends where it's like, you hope for upsets, not in the Notre Dame game, but you hope for upsets in other games. So
Yeah. Oh, you mean going into this weekend? I think you meant
yeah,
last weekend. I
like
was like, Notre
just
Dame Ohio State was a good game
yeah.
matchup wise, but
No, I'm saying
yeah.
this coming weekend.
Where's game day at this weekend?
I know the night game Stanford USC. That tells you
Okay.
how bad of this weekend's going to be. So
Yeah. I thought there was
I
another
don't know.
bigger top. Maybe it should be. I think BYU
Baylor's
and
the
Baylor
best
is
team of the
probably the
weekend.
best game. Yeah.
Yeah,
Can't see. Kentucky, Florida this weekend.
yeah. Florida. I mean, that's another game we can talk about too. That was a pretty good ending.
I
But
hate Florida.
I
I
really
wish
expected Florida to
freaking
beat
Utah.
Utah. I think Utah's overrated.
I was rooting for Utah though, because screw
Yeah,
the
because
SEC.
Florida's
Yeah,
bullshit. But
but
I think I don't think Utah's that good. Um,
yeah.
that's just where I kind of stand on that.
And
But I
that
thought it
was
was
also they were
fun.
driving and had a late turnover, right?
Yeah, they
Pretty
threw a
sure.
pick in the end zone with like 17
Yeah.
seconds left on second and goal
Yeah.
or something. Yeah.
Can do that.
Yep.
Oh, here's a prediction for you.
Mm-hmm.
Who does Notre Dame get a turnover caused or received first? Do we get a turnover or do we cause a fumble and throw a pick first?
I think we caused one against Marshall.
Okay.
I'd
Oh,
say end towards the end of the first quarter, we get an interception. Is what I
okay.
think.
I hope so. I don't know how good Marshall is, but I can't imagine they're that.
Well, they beat. All right. Well, I guess we'll go into our preview for that. They
Yeah.
beat Norfolk State FCS team 55-3. Pretty much dominated them. They had 232 passing yards and 380 rushing yards.
Okay.
You can take that's for what it's worth. When you're playing an FCS team, that's not even good for being an FCS team. Um, it is what it is. Notre Dame comes
Right.
in. The line opened up. They're 20-point favorites.
Okay.
If I was a betting man, I would bet Notre Dame to cover that. That's where I'm at on that.
I hope. Yeah. I mean, we'll get into the prediction, but I hope they come out pissed off. Like,
Yeah,
sorry for
and I think
Marshall.
a lot of them
I
are
hope
going to
they just
want
post
to get
70 for one.
Freeman his first win too. Like,
Yeah, after two OSU
I mean, two
games
top
that
10
didn't.
losses that have been both two really close games. I mean,
Yeah. and 2 games that we were winning going
Yeah.
into the second
And
half.
that's what
Yeah,
Freeman said too, that they got to learn how to finish. And
yeah,
I agree with him. They
that's
got to
been
learn
true
how to
for Jimmy.
finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I told you this before. I'm not one who wants to necessarily measure success based on how many points you post up against a nobody,
Right.
but nobody's done it since like modern football started. You can go back to the Notre Dame football database. Nobody's posted 70, and not even Lou Holtz. He had 63 in his last game at home against
Not to
Rutgers.
don't start talking 70 points when we scored 10 points last week.
I don't care. I want it. I don't care if it's
Alright.
Marshall or maybe
You might have
you
to
know.
wait next year till Tennessee State. Maybe that's when it'll happen.
I guess. Yeah, I mean, I would like to see some of the backups get time, and he's probably not that type of coach. But at the same time, I hope they're so pissed off that they just come out and slaughter him from the get
Yeah.
go, from the first quarter.
I want to see the offense expanded. I want to
Yeah,
see not such a vanilla offense. I want to see, you know, we have to open up the passing game to
yeah,
to do this. We might be able to run on Marshall with what Ohio State was doing against us, but it's still like we've got to create some sort of. I heard a podcast say this identity for our offense. There's no
yeah,
identity. I understand we want to run the ball, but like I said, you can't run the ball if there's 9 men within seven, you know,
yeah.
yards of the line of scrimmage. Just can't. You can. You might get lucky, but the odds are highly against you when you do that.
And there's plenty of talent in the receiving core that you know what maybe
Right.
you who do have a dime in there that you can just he opens up sometime in the next few weeks because you just even if he drops a couple misses a couple routes just keep throwing them.
Well, you might
It's
not have the polished wide receivers, but
yeah,
like I said earlier, like Styles and Lindsey can run. Just
yeah,
throw them the ball deep, or and then have them run go routes or deep posts or deep digs, and then have your tight ends work over the middle or running back slip out of the backfield. Like there's so many ways you can use the talent you have around.
yeah,
I hate when coaches, and like this is in any sport, they try to make people, they don't play towards their players' strengths. And they're like, all right, well, you got to go out and do this. Well, that guy's not good at that, and you can
right.
say, well, he needs to develop into that. Well, okay, if you're up by 3 touchdowns, then go ahead and do that. But I don't like that mindset.
No, that's fair. So what are you predicting?
I'm gonna go with 41 10, 41-17 Notre Dame.
Okay, some late scores from Marshall or just working out some kinks in the first half.
Um, I don't know. I think Marshall might have one big play. Um, I think we're gonna blitz more this week, so that might leave us susceptible to a big play. Um, but yeah, I don't see if the game's close, it'll be like 7-7 in the first quarter, and then we pull away. But I don't see us like pulling away late. I see us dominating the game from the get go.
Yeah, I'm maybe I'm just wanting this so bad. I'm feeling like 56-3, 59-3, something like that.
Sheesh. Okay. I mean, dude, I hope you're right. It's just I can't get on that boat yet with the way I saw the offense operate last week. So.
Yeah. No, I said that's a fair statement. I just there's still plenty of talent there, and
Mhm.
there's hopefully after that game there's a lot of hunger, and it's just a matter of directing that aggression this weekend, and we'll see. Yeah, we'll see if they come out guns blazing on the play calling. So,
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to
fuck Ohio State, man. God
add?
damn it.
See, I don't necessarily like hate Ohio State. What really bothers me is like, so I made a post on Facebook after the game, like, you can't score 10 points against Ohio State and expect to win. You had them on the ropes. Another
Yeah.
disappointment. And
Right.
I have a bunch of Ohio State fans comment on it, one including my dad. Um, He's like, well, your quarterback can throw and run. It's like, no shit. Like
Yeah.
that's
Thanks.
I. It's how pompous and arrogant they are. It's like, oh, well, your team made it close against Ohio State. And it's like, no, I want my team to fucking beat Ohio State. I don't care
Yeah.
if it was
You're,
close. You
you
guys aren't these world beaters. God
and
damn.
your coach made a good conservative call early on, and you booed him for it. Like,
Yeah, just
come on, man.
I understand. I don't think they know they're coming off that way when they say stuff like that, but
Yeah.
I
Get that
really
from.
this is a long way away, but my God, I hope we beat the shit out of them in
I
Notre
know.
Dame Stadium next year, and I think we will have the opportunity to because they're going to
Well,
lose a
hopefully
lot
they
of
lose a
people.
lot. Yeah.
So
We'll see what we
yeah,
bring in too. Yeah. No. I. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna think about it anymore because if I do, I realize I don't want to start playing the playoff race game, which means, oh well, Ohio State needs to do well because I hate doing that. I hate rooting for USC or for Ohio State. So I'm not gonna think about it anymore. I'm just gonna be like, you know what? Let's get a good bowl. Let's have a good season and get some good recruiting class. Right?
yeah.
That's the metric. I don't care what happens. Maybe we end up in the picture later on, and the loss is behind us. You remember when you were growing up, that first loss was the brutal one, but afterwards, it kind of freed up your mind as a fan the rest of the season. You know, you weren't paranoid of like every single game. You're like, all right, well, fuck it. Got not as much to play for now. There's not a conference to play for, so let's just go out and beat the shit out of these opponents as best we can and have a hell of a season. Yeah,
That kind of
yeah,
leads me into something I wanted to ask you before we finish it up. 12-team
yeah.
playoff being approved. Latest 2026. A lot of people are saying they could see it starting in 2024. I think it helps Notre Dame a lot. Um, and if there was a road to staying independent, I think this is it. Um,
Oh, yeah.
with the super
So,
conferences, it would have been really, really hard for us to stay independent with
oh,
a 4-team, but I think
yeah,
this
no,
is the
that does
way.
give me hope in that regard. I had a little bit of a debate last week with my brother after you and I talked,
Hmm.
but still before the game, and this is before the news had come out, and we had debated more playing devil's advocate with each other for who would deserve extra spots, and it's not that he was thinking how it would negatively impact Notre Dame because if you just gave every conference, even the little ones, because I think there's 10 or 12, like just an automatic qualifier, the way that his alma mater, a D3 school, does, that would be the most fair, and that if you just did the six best conference champions, it wouldn't change anything. But I still disagree. I think if you have his point was if you have an 8-5, we'll call it, I don't know, Texas for now, coming
Yeah.
out of the Big 12, or yeah, out of the Big 12, and but the Big 12 that year just happens to be just head and shoulders above everyone else, monsters, winning all their non-conference games, and just how everything landed. They're 8-5. And you have an 11-1 Boise. They get blown out in a non-conference game against some Pac-12 team.
Yeah.
And the WAC, or I think they're WAC, or are they Mountain West now? Whatever, they get nobody challenging at all. And his point is, well, they might, because they're 11-1, just be put in that better than Texas stance, and so they would be one of the six best.
I can see
I'm
what
all right
he's
with that.
saying, but
Right.
that, in my opinion, if you lose 5 games, I don't care how hard your conference is. That's the thing about college football. Like
Exactly.
I don't want college football to become the NFL. I
And that's
don't like,
exactly what he said. He's
you
like, well,
know.
the NFL does it, but it's not the NFL.
Right.
Yeah,
And I don't
I
want to see
completely
it
agree
become
with
the NFL. So
you. No,
that's why I
you're right.
love college football so much more because of that would take away from, these thrilling upsets on the weekend when the Appalachian State when they beat Michigan,
Right.
just crazy games like the Auburn Alabama game last year that I was sitting here watching the game, sweating bullets because if Alabama lost, Notre Dame was probably getting in. You know what I mean?
Right, 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 right.
It's those type of things where that's what makes college football great. Um,
Yeah,
like,
and
I
and
have
even
no
though
desire to see an 8-5 team even get a shot.
no,
You know?
exactly, and you can now lose a game and still get in, which I'm fine with. It's not the same as when you're watching soccer a long season or you're watching the NFL,
Right.
16 games, and you're like, you might still be pissed. You might still have a terrible weekend because your team lost, but like it doesn't change the calculus a whole lot in the grand scheme of things because you're expected to lose, right?
I
Whereas
don't think
it's
you
so
can
much more
compare
special,
the NFL with college football either. Like NFL has
right?
salary cap, it's parity. These are all
Yeah, parity
professionals.
is the
They have
big
a
one.
draft. It's
Yeah,
it's totally different.
and that's why I think you're right. I think there's a specialness in not necessarily going undefeated anymore, but losing one game or no games, and that's fine. I'm fine with a Boise State and a BYU getting in. They might get thrashed. Hell, I don't care if Coastal Carolina gets in and gets thrashed in the first round against SEC runner-up Georgia, right? Like, fine. I don't want to see the 8-5s. I remember back in the BCS when every major conference champion got in, and it was Bobby Bowden's 8-5 Florida State that played
Yeah.
Pitt or somebody in the Fiesta Bowl. I
Well,
didn't want to see that.
on your point with the smaller schools, what I think this 12-team playoff is going to help out with is it's going to help out with this gap. So
Yeah,
part of the reason I think, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, and Clemson, I'll give those four. I don't think Clemson's there right now, but they were those four teams are, were or are in a league of their own is because these players went there knowing
right.
that they were going to play in the playoff more than likely.
Yep.
So 12 teams now, it should help out with recruiting, spreading it out. And say you get, like you said, Coastal Carolina in. Um, One, that's going to add a lot of money to their pocket. That's going to improve their facilities. Um, that's going to gain new fans in that area. Um, Maybe recruits want to go there. And then college
Yeah.
football, these smaller schools might grow into something. I don't think they'll ever be a blue blood, but I think you might see a year where you have like, when Kansas State back in the day would have a good year and sneak up out of nowhere. Um, Stuff like that. And I think
Yeah.
it's exciting. I'm not saying they're going to win it, but
No.
they may pull an upset in the first round. You know what I mean? And that would be big. So
Well, let me close it out then with two questions on that front. One, are you happy with 12 instead of 8 because it is in essence means buys, which honestly for college students sometimes a buy I've seen this in the MLS sometimes. The teams that get the bye, the
yeah,
two first place teams, they come off looking rusty in that second week where all the teams that didn't have the bye, they still had a full week's of rest.
right.
So I don't know how I feel 12 versus 8. I would have been happy either way. I don't know how you feel. And the
I
second
feel.
question, does it stop
Sorry.
at
Good.
12? No, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I heard both. 12. At first, I wanted it to be 8. I thought 8
Hmm.
was the right number, but and that's when like college football playoff got first introduced. I was like 8. It should be 8.
Right.
Um, but now that there's this, you know, group of 4 teams above everybody else, expanding to eight's really not gonna. I mean, it would change it a little bit, but those teams are still going to be in. They might be the top 4 seeds. They're probably going to be in the semifinals. It's not going to change a whole lot. What 12 does, and one thing I like with 12 is the first round. If you don't have the buys, they're home games for the higher seed, and I think that's going to be great for universities to be able to have a game like that at the stadium. I think the students will love it. A lot of students might not be there, but they might stay for that game because of break. You know what I mean? Or they'll come back and be at the games. I think that's great. I love that part. But I think it's really going to help. I didn't really realize how much, and I like the playoff better than the BCS championship game
Sure. Yeah.
to an extent. But I think the playoff, so the BCS championship game the BCS bowls that you played in were still huge.
Yeah.
Now with the playoff, honestly, the BCS games don't mean that much if you're not in the playoff. It's like, well, all right, we're playing a good team.
Well,
We're not in the playoff. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
it's like, oh well,
I think
you know.
it'll be interesting how it shapes out because I think they're going to try to make the major bowls somehow. They're definitely going to host the semis. It'll be
Yeah.
interesting if they try to host the quarterfinals as well, because that would be weird. That means teams 5
Well, I know
through
they're gonna.
8 get
It's
to
gonna be
host a game.
something
But
neutral or at a bowl site. I know the
well,
first
that's
round
weird
is
then,
home, but
because
that's
that
it.
means 5, 6, 7, and 8 get to host their game, but 1, 2, 3, and 4 get a bye, but they don't get to host a game,
Right.
right?
Correct. Yep.
That's a weird situation. I'm I there is some nostalgia, especially coming from me who loves the history of the sport, about bowl games. But
They've been so dumbed
I've
down the past
always
6 years, dude.
and they ruined it by putting too many in to begin with. So
Right.
if it leads to the death of bowls, I'm all right with that sacrifice. Like I was more upset about turf at Notre Dame or jumbotron than I am about losing, bowl
Right.
games.
Mhm.
Yeah, sure, Rose Bowl. It's not as special to me as it is for a Pac-12 or Big Ten fan. So we'll see how it shapes out. But yeah, I'm not sad if that goes. They'll probably try to incorporate them, but it'll seem less special. That's
Right.
fine.
It'll just be the venue with the fucking logo slapped on the field. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
FedEx Orange Bowl.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. That's what
It
it's
was
gonna
already
be.
sold out. Exactly. Which, speaking of, why do we have a sponsor for the head coach position?
I
That
don't know.
just
They've
is,
had names and shit for the past few
yeah.
years. I don't get it.
It's weird
Anything
every
from
time I
money,
read
man.
it, I
Yeah.
guess. So yeah,
You
does it
know,
end at 12
Bruce
though?
Dickinson, head coach.
Does it end at 12? I mean,
I
at
think
some
so.
point you
I
can't
think
do
it has to end
64.
at 12. You can't go. You can't go
You
anymore.
could
Or
you could do 16 with no buys technically, but
it's
you're now adding 3
you're
games.
just dumbing down the regular season. I think they understand
Yeah.
the nostalgia with college football is the regular season. Like
Yeah.
that's the reason people love college football is the regular season. The playoff, all that,
Yeah.
that's great, but the regular season's what college football is all about. And if you
So
dumb that down too much, you're just going to kill the sport. So I
or
think
keep
12's the
changing.
perfect
Yeah.
spot.
So at 12, say you're number 5 and you
Hmm.
upset somebody in the second round. So if you're in a conference, you play 12 games, then a conference championships, that's
Hmm.
13, and now you could play
You
3
could play
more.
four
That's
more, four
16.
more.
No, 3 more, right?
Well, if you're in the first round, you got that, and then you got the quarterfinal, then the semifinal, then the championship.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
They're playing an NFL schedule, man. Like I don't. I
I think they'll have to go down to 11 games season. You got to take one of those out. They've
They're
had
not going
15 in
to.
the
They're not
past.
going to.
Oh,
I agree with you, but they're not going to. You know why?
funny.
Money. They're not going to do it.
But
So
these kids, they're already pushing their limits.
yeah,
Some of these kids are
but
19.
they're getting money now. So and you know, for a fact that if these teams make the playoffs, companies are going to come to these kids and be like, "Hey, do this ad for us. Do this.
Right.
Post this on your Twitter." So these kids are going to get money from making the playoff. Like that's what's going to happen.
I just hope we don't see some serious injuries result from having to go. I
Oh, we
mean, it's
will.
only 4 teams, I guess, that are potentially 2 teams that can play 16. So maybe it's not that bad, but anyway.
You will, but that's
Let's get there.
the way the
Let's
sport's
just get
going,
there.
man. It's
Yeah.
the way it is.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else, man?
That's it for me, man. Go Irish, beat Marshall.
Yeah. Let's see some improvements. Beat some ass.
Sounds good, man. Take it
All right. Hey.
easy. We'll talk next week.
Yeah. Remember to subscribe, do all that stuff,
Tell your
and
friends.
yeah, tell your friends. And next week, hopefully, I don't know this week. I might have the podcast on Spotify, maybe on iTunes, and then there's something Skinner told me that we might have it on too. Podcast
Podcast
Addict.
addict.
Podcast Addict. We might be on there. By next week, I'll have it up on a few of those, but I'm telling you, by the end of the month, we'll be on all of them. We're gonna be the best, damn it. So like us. All right. Go Irish people. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next week.
Go Irish. Later.
See ya.